Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Meghna Patel, and my colleague Amy Zwart will be presenting on Is Your Lab Ready for a Data Integrity Audit? So, little bit introduction about me. That academic-wise, I hold masters in biochemistry. Professionally, mostly I worked in the consumer and pharmaceutical industries as a computer system validation consultant, where I mainly worked on the enterprise quality management systems such as LIMS, chromatogram data systems, electronic document management systems, along with the benchtop systems like FTIR, LCMS, GCMS. Besides this computer system validation consultant, I also played role as in quality assurance, qualifying the laboratory instruments and preparing the periodic review report for the regulated computerized system, and assisted in the internal audit as well.
And good afternoon, everyone. As Meghna said, I will be her co-presenter today for the webinar. My name is Amy Zwart, and I am a senior validation consultant here with CSols. I hold a degree in chemistry as well as a few professional certifications in project management. I also hold a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification. I have 4 years of experience within validation consulting, but I have over 15 years expertise in the pharmaceutical industry. There I've worked in a wide range of industry, including R&D, manufacturing, formulation, analytical testing, QA, and I've also worked a little bit in the clinical side of things. Currently, and some of my most recent projects include supporting large-scale CSV implementations for LIMS and CDS. And I also have a pretty extensive experience with benchtop qualifications and validation. So let's go over a little bit about what is on today's agenda. We're going to start off with defining what data integrity is. And then we're going to learn some of the reasons of why and how the FDA may audit your computer systems and lab processes. I'm going to lay out some of the key areas of focus when we're talking about data integrity, and then we'll go into some techniques that could help you and your company perform successful data integrity audits. And then we'll go into some common pitfalls that are seen when you're doing data integrity audits. And lastly, we'll go over some resources on how you can be prepared for an audit if it should ever happen to you. So what is data integrity? As anyone working in our regulated industry has we've probably heard the term tossed around quite a bit, but can we really define it? Data integrity has become increasingly a more serious issue over the past few years, and therefore it has also become a core focus for many of us in our industry. The FDA has published a data integrity guidance document, which outlines compliance with CGXP. It was meant to address the role of data integrity for regulated industry. And this document came about as a result of the FDA increasingly observing violations around data integrity during their inspections. These violations have led to the FDA issuing warning letters, as well as import alerts, consent decrees. So the guidance document hopefully helps to answer integrity questions, and it also strives to put some clarification around what the FDA expects from organizations when they're trying to be in compliance with data integrity. So it is important to understand what data integrity really means in order to be compliant. Data integrity refers to the fact that data must be reliable and accurate over its entire life cycle. The data must be consistently accurate and trustworthy. Data integrity is key in our industry to ensure that the end products meet the required quality standards. The safety of the data indirectly translates to the safety of the product. Maintaining or keeping data consistent throughout its life cycle is a matter of protecting it so that it is reliable and trustworthy. And data that's reliable is simply able to meet those certain standards with which compliance is met. So we're going to go into an acronym that you may or may not have heard before, but this is one that the FDA uses quite often to define their data integrity standards and to relate to good manufacturing practices, and that's Alcoa. Alcoa stands for attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. And lately, we're starting to see more and more that Alcoa Plus is becoming more widely used and is becoming industry standard. Alcoa Plus also adds on complete, consistent, enduring, and available. So we're going to get into what each of these mean and also go over some questions that you may want to be asking of your organization, you know, just to trigger some thought around these concepts. So when we're looking at just Alcoa, attributable is the first one. Attributable means that information is captured in the record so that it's uniquely identified as executed by the originator of the data. So this basically means like who acquired the data or who performed the action and when. Some things to think about when thinking about attributable data. If you had a paper-based system, you might be wanting to ask your employers who entered the data, have they been trained in good documentation practices so that they know how to properly initial and date entries and that they know how to properly make corrections. If you're using an electronic system, in an electronic way of entering data, are there audit trails in place to capture these actions of who and what? So a time-stamped audit trail is what this would capture. It would also be important to know if your system allows for electronic signatures to identify the person performing the action. Do things like batch releases and data approval require electronic signatures? Legible. The term legible refers to the requirements that data is readable, understandable, and allows for a clear picture of the sequencing of steps or events that happened in the record. It ensures that all GXP activities conducted can be fully reconstructed by the people that have to review the records. So basically this is saying is, can the reviewer read the data and all the entries? Here you would be asking things such as, is there a controlled system of issuing lab notebooks? You can ask, are your employees trained on good documentation practices here? Are controls in place to ensure that data is being recorded using permanent ink instead of pencil? Then are your audit trails convertible to a readable format? And even like, can your users switch off the audit trail? Next, we have contemporaneous. Contemporaneous